What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. I want to go over and talk about the upcoming Lord of the Rings MMORPG that Amazon is going to be releasing. Currently, we don't have an exact release date for it, as this game has been kind of going back and forth between the is it canceled, is it not, but at the moment, Amazon has confirmed that the MMO is indeed coming. And there are a few things that I do want to talk about kind of as concerns. The first big thing that I want to talk about, and it really is going to be kind of the major point of this video, is Amazon does not have a good track record with MMORPGs, with the one and only example in there to be talked about being New World. New World was a MMO that was released by Amazon, and at launch it was incredible, but it did not take very long for multiple game-breaking bugs to be discovered that destroyed the game's economy, as well as just a ton of other issues that plagued the game, and so many people are struggling to get back into New World as the game has suffered through many rollbacks as well as other various issues. Now, I do not keep up with the current state of New World, so do not come to me with the thought of, hey, if I go here to do New World and play New World, am I going to get all the information from this video? No, that's not what I want to talk about here. The biggest thing that I want to talk about is the Amazon Lord of the Rings MMO, being a Lord of the Rings gamer myself and a frequent Lord of the Rings online player, as I currently have my wonderful steed traveling from Bree to Hobbiton, where I'm kind of just enjoying various aspects of the game. Anyways, continuing forward with this video, the biggest thing that I'm going to be talking about is what are the things that I want to see, what are the things that I don't want to see with a Lord of the Rings MMO coming out in the not too distant future. The first one is I want to see a game with better graphics. As a frequent Lord of the Rings online player, somebody who has been spending a ton of time playing this game and diving into it on so many different areas, I absolutely love Lord of the Rings Online, but the one thing that I do give as a big critique for it is I want to see Lord of the Rings Online I want to see a Lord of the Rings game with a lot more updated graphics. The beautiful games such as Middle-earth: Shadow of War, giving us Mordor in this absolutely terrifying but gorgeous aesthetic. Now I want to see how the rest of Middle-earth will look in modern-day graphics, as we have not had too many successful Lord of the Rings games since then. It has been almost a decade since we have had a successful Lord of the Rings game. I'm sorry, Tales of the Shire, I do have to throw you in a not great scenario, even though I do very much enjoy that game. Now, from the other areas, another thing that I do want to see is more action-based combat. Now, I know that I haven't been able to do too many input-heavy games recently due to wrist issues, but I do really think that if we are going to have a successful Lord of the Rings MMO, it can't be just a copy-and-paste Lord of the Rings Online. It will need to have some unique story aspects to it, as well as I think it will need to have a very different combat system. Otherwise, what's to stop me from just continuing to play Lord of the Rings Online, especially when I already have hundreds of hours invested into this game, and there are many things that I still find myself coming back to in regards to this game. Those are kind of the main things that I want to see. I'm very concerned about early game-breaking bugs just because Lord of the Rings Online has a very stable economy, and I also just don't want to see a issue where we see Lord of the Rings the Amazon Lord of the Rings MMO being plagued with some similar issues that we saw from New World. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that because, again, I want to just focus on the Amazon game on its own. The biggest thing, again, that, like I said, I'm really looking for is a reason to stop playing Lord of the Rings Online. I want to see a big enough differentiation between the game that it hits certain buttons that Lord of the Rings Online doesn't hit. Because, I'm gonna be honest, I love Lord of the Rings Online. I've been spending a ton of time playing it. It is slowly becoming my favorite game of all time, and I just simply absolutely adore every single aspect of this game. And so, trying to get me out of this game is going to be very difficult. So, there are a lot of things that we do have to be paying attention to when it does come to a new Lord of the Rings MMO. First thing with that is the licensing. Currently, right now, Amazon does have the license to the Lord of the Rings and the appendices for the books, as we've seen that for Rings of Power, being that where the series is based off of the Lord of the Rings books and the appendices and the information that they have there. Currently, there are no rights to be sold for this Silmarillion. The Tolkien estate does not want to sell those rights, so I do not expect that we will be seeing like a second age MMORPG, despite that actually being probably the big area that will want me to differentiate from Lord of the Rings Online, is if I get a completely different time period. You know, currently right now, Lord of the Rings Online, there are content constantly being pushed out. Kingdoms of Harad will be coming at the end of this year. So again, there's more content that is consistently coming to Lord of the Rings Online. Standing Stone Games is continuing to pour their love into it. So I'm going to need to see a good chunk of content that is going to want to keep me playing the game for a long period of time and being invested in it. And the thing that I think also does raise some concern is the Tolkien accuracy that came from Rings of Power. Now, again, I am a Rings of Power fan, so I don't want to discredit the show and talk about it that way, but when it comes to the accuracy, that show has not been the most accurate for the information that they have given. So I would be a little bit worried that for diehard Tolkien fans, if they were to go into a Amazon Lord of the Rings MMO, especially for those who aren't fans of the Rings of Power, they might not want to jump into a Lord of the Rings MMO if they watch Rings of Power and don't like it. But for those Lord of the Rings Online players, it's going to be very difficult, I think, to pull them already outside of the game that already exists. Another big thing that I personally am just a little bit more nervous about is we have been getting a ton of failed MMOs recently. Ashes of Creation is not a failed MMO, it's still an early alpha, so I'm not going to talk about that in depth, but that is a very, very highly anticipated MMO coming out in the near future, and so it is very important that if Amazon were to create another MMO, that they also have to think about Ashes of Creation, as well as just competing against some of the other big MMO names out there. Guild Wars 2, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, as well as old school RuneScape being the 4 biggest names in the MMO genre right now. So those are things that the Amazon is going to have to try and beat. They have to try and pull some of those players out, and again, with New World not being a successful MMO, that does raise a ton of concerns there. Who knows? Maybe Amazon will be able to come out and do something incredible. Maybe not. I don't know. I personally am a little bit more skeptical than I am excited, especially since if the MMO doesn't do good, then it's just right back to Lord of the Rings Online. Not that I have a problem with Lord of the Rings Online. Like I had said, this game is becoming one of my favorite games of all time very quickly. But I do have concerns for what Amazon's MMO is going to pull in that area. So I'm going to try and keep up with it as best as possible, guys. So please make sure you do subscribe to the channel if you are interested in more MMORPG content and just more Lord of the Rings gaming content. I'm planning on wanting to really kind of bring a lot of those back and work on more of those videos. So that is going to be something to look at here in the near future. I don't exactly know what it's going to look like, but I'm excited to kind of see what the future of the channel is going to be. It's probably going to be a lot more YouTube focused. If you've come from my live streams, you might just be used to watching live streams, but with the state of my life right now, it's probably just going to be looking at some more YouTube focused, so I can just record and come and go as I please versus just being able to stream for any long periods of time. So this is going to be the best way to support me going forward. If you would like to, make sure you guys subscribe. There's also a link to my Ko-Fi down in the description below where you can see any future videos that will be coming early, as well as you will get a shout out at the end of every single video there. So yeah, make sure you guys check out all the ways to support down there. That will be the best way to financially support us, especially as we are not monetized by YouTube at this time. But with that, thank you guys so much for watching. Huge shout outs to all of my Ko-Fi monthly supporters here. You guys are what help to make this channel possible. And as always, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are loved and you are valued. And thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.